Welcome to Tips for Clips. In just 5 minutes, I'm going to give you all the tips you need to cut Toddler's hair.
I'm just...
As you can see, toddlers, of course, may be a little reluctant at first to get their haircut, especially because this is this toddler's first haircut. But what really helped was sitting on his dad's lap with his mom and aunt around, and he had a phone to distract him too. So at the beginning of a haircut like this, it's a good idea to kind of just get warmed up. Here I'm just cutting the longer curls, seeing how he reacts to me cutting, seeing what bothers him, seeing what he doesn't notice. So I noticed that when I brush his hair, he looks back at me and he realizes that I'm cutting his hair. But when I'm actually cutting his hair, he doesn't realize it as much. So I'm going to try to do throughout this haircut is to not brush as much, although I do want to, but I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum. Notice here how quickly I'm opening and closing the scissors. That's because if there's any sudden movements, I want to make sure that I'm not going to tug on his hair. And another tip with sudden movements is that you see that between his hair and the scissors I have the comb. You're going to see in just a moment he's going to move suddenly, but nothing's going to happen because the comb is there to protect him. So make sure the comb is there and not the scissors directly. So the way I like going about haircuts like this is to go little by little. I don't want to go short all of a sudden and then regret that I took off too much. So I kind of take off layer by layer. And the final product I want shorter on the sides and longer on the top. Here you're going to see me flip around the comb. You always want to brush the comb in the opposite direction of the hair. So on top I'm brushing downwards, and you're going to see on the sides I'm brushing upwards. Always against the grain of the hair, or always against the direction that the hair grows. I've already taken off a good layer of hair, so now I'm getting closer and closer. I want the sides to be light. So what I have to do in order to make the sides light is to keep the comb close to his head. You see, the higher I go, the farther I move out from his head. But the lower I am towards his ears, the closer I'm going to keep the comb. So you can see here, when I'm on the top of the head, I'm lifting the comb about 1.5 inches or so. That's because I just want to make sure that the hair that I cut doesn't go too short on top, especially because his hair is really light and delicate. You're going to see he's getting a little itchy. It didn't bother him too much. What bothered him even more was having the cape on, so I ended up taking it off. And this is just a minor tip, but if you get too much hair clumping up on the comb, you can just take the comb and the scissors to the side, and using the scissors you can tap on the comb to just get rid of any excess hair. So you saw before on top I was keeping the comb far from his head. But now when I go towards the sides, especially because I've already taken a good layer off, I'm going to keep the comb as close to him as I can so that I could get a nice close cut on the sides. And here I'm going to try to get rid of that patch of hair in the middle that forms from the crevice of the neck. So I'm going to use the same technique and keep the comb pressed closely to him. Now it's time for the shape up, and yes, you can shape up toddler's hair. You're going to use the scissors, make sure someone is holding his head tightly in place, and you're going to go along in a straight line, constantly opening and closing the scissors. The regular trimmer that we use is usually too loud and too rough for toddlers. And you're going to see this part here, I'm only comfortable doing it because I've used scissors a lot, but be very careful if you're doing this. I'm just trimming the extra hairs on his neck. I'm also comfortable doing it because his father is holding his head steadily. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the shape up on the sides. The key here again is quick and short snips, and you're going to see a really nice line is going to form here. This really gives the haircut a nice dimension. And be sure to keep the scissors straight. You don't want to change the direction of the scissors as you're cutting. And constantly snip so that you don't miss any hair and you end up with a really crisp and clean product just like that. And here I'm just giving the top of his hair a light trim. I'm keeping the comb far away from his head, and there's no particular goal in the way I'm brushing here, just a regular messy look, making sure that none of the hair is too long on top. And that's all there really is to cutting toddler's hair. You should now be ready to give your own child or niece or nephew or loved one their first haircut, and it should be really special. Here's a reminder of the hair we started with, and now you can see the finished product. Thank you to all those who have supported this channel. Keep liking and sharing these videos. Encourage more to subscribe, and I'll see you at the next video.
Give me pen. Yeah.